Ever wonder why you're struggling for sales, even when plenty of people they view your webinar? It's frustrating because you're likely wondering, why they're not buying? What's wrong? But there's a real simple way to double or even triple sales, which I've developed over the last 6 years. It's made beginners millions of dollars with webinars, and I call it the offer triangle. In fact, in January this year, it was the offer triangle that took Eamon, who was struggling to get any customers at all, to doing over 30 grand a month consistently. So now I'm going to show you how anybody can create an offer triangle that turns your webinar into a revenue generated engine that massively increases sales in days, not weeks. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to instantly triple your webinar sales by using the offer triangle to get results just like Eamon did. And by the way, I've also included a checklist that you can download below this video so you don't miss a step. So let me show you just how a small change to your offer can result in a surge of sales. When it comes to offers, small tweaks can actually make a massive difference. And this was the case for Melanie Perkins, a teacher at the University of Western Australia. She watched her students struggle for hours to create basic designs in her art class. So she set out to make a product so simple that anybody could create good designs, even with zero experience. Her project was bold. It was going to need some serious money. So she approached over 100 investors, but they all said the same thing.
Design is too complicated for regular people, and Adobe already owns the market.
So no one was interested in her offer, and I can relate to that. Have you ever felt that way about your offer? You know it can help, but getting people to see the value, well, it's like pulling teeth. This was Melanie's problem. Her idea was good, but the problem was how she was presenting it. And here's why Melanie's smart. She didn't change the offer. She reframed it. Instead of talking about what her program was, she started to talk about the outcome and the impact it would deliver. A tool that lets anyone design anything and publish it anywhere. But would just changing how you present an offer really work? Well, Melanie, she wasn't so sure. I mean, we're talking serious investors here, and these guys are switched on. But when she pitched this new offer to investor Bill Tay, he instantly saw the vision. He backed her, and Canva was born. Fast forward 10 years, and that little startup is now worth over 40 billion. So, if people aren't buying, you don't need to change what you're selling. You only need to change their perception. That's the power of creating the right offer. But how do you create an offer so good that people will feel stupid saying no? Well, we start with a name. But here's the thing. You've got to make the name sound more like a name. You've got to make it sound like it cures a problem. It should feel like something they want to own and not something that they're being sold. Example, the lose 5 pounds in 5 week system. Boring. Sounds like a product. But the no diet fast slim down framework, that's interesting. It promises a result that people actually want, to lose weight quickly without diets. So when it comes to coming up with a name, yeah, it can be quite hard. So here's how I like to think about it. No, hated thing, desired outcome, shortcut. That makes it so much easier. And extra points if you can use the same letter for 3 things in a row. The zero pitch silent sales system. It flows. Years ago, back in the day, we had names like the 7-day millionaire maker, and people, well, they bought it. Back then, big promises sold. Now, audiences are hyper skeptical. They've heard it before. And that's why your name is more than a label. It sets up a promise. And as well as a name for your product, you want to come up with a statement that sums up what you're offering, but also at the same time, it positions it. But how do you do that? Remember Melanie Perkins, the lady that started Canva? She came up with the slogan, or should I say the statement, a tool that lets anybody design anything and publish it anywhere. This is a 1-sentence promise, but Here's the thing. You want it to create curiosity when you say it to somebody. You want to make them want to find out more. If you were in the investment space, yes, you could say, I show the over 50s how to invest for a tax-free income. But if you did, there's no intrigue. You've paid it off in a very boring way. When you could have said, I teach the over 50s how to create an income that outlasts them, and taxes are optional. Say something like this, and their brain just has to ask,
What do you mean? Taxes are optional.
what you've done is you've opened them up. And this works because when you make people want to know something, they're more receptive to information. They become less skeptical. So, you've got a name. You've got a one-sentence promise for when you present your offer. But now you need to showcase the benefits. Paint a picture in the mind of the prospect of what it's going to do for them. You don't want to be talking features. You need to focus on the benefits, the outcome. To make a great offer, we need benefits. And if you've ever wondered why your webinar isn't working, maybe you've even thought, do I need more features? Do I need to lower the price? Add another module? You likely don't. You need to be thinking benefits. When people, they can instantly picture an outcome, saying yes becomes the obvious choice. And benefits are the way to do this. So let me show you how to create benefits that instantly transmit value. There's a saying, and I love this saying. The first time your product is used is in the mind of your prospect. In other words, you need the narrative in your offer to paint a picture in the prospect's mind of the benefits, what they're going to be after they've bought it. So when you're listing out what your offer contains, it's so easy to fall into this trap of saying things like, includes weekly live coaching calls, 10 hours of video lessons. It's all well and good, but that doesn't give me the benefit. You need to make me feel it. So instead of words like includes weekly live coaching calls, get real feedback from an expert on your biggest challenges every week so you're never left stuck or wondering what to do next. Instead of 10 hours of video lessons, learn at your own pace with a step-by-step video library you can access from anywhere. You've got to be thinking, what does my audience want to hear? Because nobody wakes up in the morning and says,
Oh, you know what? I hope somebody today sells me some PDFs and some one-to-one calls.
it's all about selling the benefits. And you're going to need 4 to 8 good benefits listed. So let's have a quick recap here. We start with a name that excites them. Then we've got a promise that intrigues them. And then benefits that make people imagine their new reality. That's the core of the offer triangle. Miss it, and you're going to struggle for sales, no matter how good your product is. But even when you've done all that perfectly, most people are still going to say no, because there's a final piece that you have to get right, and that's price positioning. So let me show you how you can use perception and a little bit of human psychology to position your price so your offer seems like a great deal. In the 1990s, a struggling liquor importer in New York named Sidney Frank was desperate to save his business. Sales were on the floor because major brands wouldn't take him seriously. So what he does, he goes totally rogue. If nobody will give me a brand, I'll just invent one. And people thought he'd lost the plot.
You need millions to launch a liquor brand, you idiot.
But Sidney, he had something better than millions. He understood the dark art of price perception. And here's the trick. There's this thing called the price quality effect. You see, when we see a higher price, our brains, they assume the product must be good. And Sidney, he had little money of his own. So he goes and borrows cash from anybody that's mad enough to hand it over to him, and he creates his own brand of vodka, calls it Grey Goose. He decides to make it in France, for no other reason than France is associated with quality drinks like cognac, champagne, fine wine. So he borrowed their reputation, and then he used a nice frosted bottle to create that perception of quality. And instead of paying for high-cost supermarket placement and expensive advertising campaigns, he focused on upscale nightclubs, celebrity restaurants, luxury hotels, first-class lounges, private clubs. The narrative and the high price, it made it feel exclusive. And despite the fact that it regularly loses in blind taste tests of vodkas at a quarter of the price, he still managed to shift a boatload of the stuff, charge at least double of the highest priced vodka on the market, and he sold out for a cool $2 billion in 2004 to Bacardi. So what's the lesson? Well, it wasn't the taste that made Grey Goose a hit, it was the price positioning. If people are saying no to your offer, it's likely not the price itself, it's how you're presenting it. So how should you be presenting your price to get people who say no at first, which is most of them, to actually say yes? First, you want to reveal the price early. Most people, they don't. But if we know that most people are going to see the price and then say no, revealing it early makes sense. You've now got more time to position it. Saying no is the default human state, but rarely does no mean no. It means convince me. So you want to reveal the price before you mention your bonuses or the risk reversal, not after. But we don't just want to blurt out the price without creating some kind of high value wrapper first. When I mention the price, I'm talking about what it's been worth to people I've shared it with, what it's been worth to me. I talk about the cost of failure. I talk about all the alternatives that don't really work. And this allows me to start with a much higher price and still justify it. So when I knock the price down, it now feels like they're almost taking advantage of me. They're like,
better take advantage before he comes to his senses.
This method of starting with a higher price that feels justified and then reducing it, it works well. But sometimes, and depending on what I'm selling, I take it one step further and use what I call the seesaw effect. What we do, we anchor the price high, build the value, and then when I mention the price, I say something like, so you've seen why this is worth every penny of $6,000, and those that have paid that much in the past feel that was a great deal. But on this webinar today, it's not $6,000. If you buy before the timer hits zero, it's only $900, which, if you work it out over 12 months, that's about $2.50 a day, less than a Starbucks coffee. And this works really well because what we've done, we've planted the value at 6K, knocked it down to 900, and then reverse anchored it to the cost of a non-considered purchase like a cup of coffee. And while this may convince the audience that's a little warmer, we now need something for the audience that's a bit colder, something to just tip them over the edge. So let me show you what you need to do after you've mentioned the price to make it feel like this is a total non-brainer and turn the skeptics into shut up and take my money. Imagine this. You're boarding a flight, stressed, you're tired, and the attendant checks your ticket and then says,
Sorry sir, coach is overbooked. You need to sit up front in first class instead.
Suddenly you feel like royalty. You get in roomy seats, real glassware, nice food, an old kid from hell kicking the back of your seat. But the real nice part, the real excitement, you didn't have to pay for it. It was totally unexpected. And that's a feeling that a great bonus gives your buyers. Bonuses, they turn up the heat and feed the part of the audience's brain that just hates to miss out on a great deal. Done right, bonuses can be actually more of a reason to buy than the main offer. So let me show you how to present them so they get your prospects excited, ready to buy. Now there's a structure to this. What you don't want to do, you don't want to lead with your best bonus first. Think of it like a climax in a movie. It's not at the start. So you want to start with your second best and then run through the rest of your bonuses and then take advantage of what's called the recency effect, which is where people are most likely to remember the last thing in a list. You add your best bonus right at the end, and that's like, bam, sticks in the mind. Think of your bonuses like mini products. Give each one an inspiring title. Describe the benefits. Give it a monetary value. Once you've revealed your bonuses, you want to then run through your bonuses and stack them. And then as you do, add the total value up and then add in the starting higher price of your main offer, what it's worth, and then show the total. And then remind them of the price they can buy at today. And as you're doing this, Your audience, they're going to be warming up, ready to buy. But you're still going to have a few people on the fence thinking, I don't really know if I should do this. You see, people are really bad at making decisions. They'll fight to stay where they are, even if it's not where they want to be. So, for their own good, we've got to apply a couple of techniques to push them to act. But how do you do that? Well, when you start your webinar, it's important that you don't think of it as selling a product. You think about it as selling an opportunity. Opportunities present themselves. And we all know that if we don't act, poof, they vanish. If you've ever been to an auction, it's totally mad. People outbidding each other, paying way over the odds for stuff. They get carried away. Why? Well, it's the fear of losing out. They've got limited time to act. Reasoning under these circumstances kind of just goes out of the window. Can you see where I'm going with this? To get these not yet decided people over the line, you've got to introduce urgency and scarcity. But if you do this wrong, you're going to come across as being too salesy. Some people are happy to work like that. I'm not. So, how do you apply urgency and scarcity without coming across as sleazy or causing that eye roll reaction from your clients? Well, let me show you how exactly to stack urgency, loss, and true risk reversal so you can move people to action in a way that feels totally trustworthy. When you add urgency, you've got to set up some parameters. How long have they got to act? And what's going to happen if they don't? Is the price going up? Are you going to remove one or maybe all the bonuses? But it's got to be something that really turns the thumbscrews. No good saying price goes up by 10% because no one's going to care. You want things like price doubles, bonuses go away, or even better, my favourite, limited number of places. In other words, a total loss if you don't act before the timer hits 0 or the webinar ends. But once you've raised the issue of urgency, what you want to do then is remind them of the cost of not acting. What will the cost be for them for staying stuck? People need to be reminded of this. Adding this just after the urgency section, it amplifies it by a factor of 10. And then you drop into the risk reversal. Now, notice I didn't say the word guarantee because I hate the word guarantee. It's used that much, it's lost all meaning. I mean, if you're offering a 100% money back guarantee, why aren't more people buying? You're saying if it doesn't work, you'll give them the money back. Well, it doesn't work because they've heard it before so many times. It just doesn't mean anything anymore. It's all about framing. You've got to frame it right. You've got to make it feel like a true risk reversal. Make them think as you being the seller, you're the one taking the risk, not them. But how do you do that? How do you turn a plain, boring guarantee into a really powerful sales tool? Well, here's an example of something that I've used a lot and to great effect. Feel free to copy this. Here's what I've used in the past. I'm that confident this is going to allow you to fill in the blank. I'm happy to take all the risk. I'm going to let you use the product for 30 days. After this period, if you've not, fill in the result. I don't want your money, and I'll refund you in full without any questions. And I'll even let you keep the product in case you need it later. Now, will some people take advantage of this guarantee, go through all the lessons, and get big fill-in result, and then still ask for the money back? Maybe, but I'm hoping you won't. And that's how I create a risk reversal. But creating a great offer won't actually do you any good at all if you can't get people into your webinar. So, if you want to know how you can get an endless stream of customers to your webinar, you're going to want to watch this video next. It primes your audience to buy without you having to be salesy.